The call came while I was standing in the hallway outside the ICU. Not from the doctor. Not from the police. From her. Her name burned the screen. I didn't answer. I watched it vibrate itself quiet like a trapped insect. Inside the room, behind the glass, the machines kept time with a soft, obedient beep. Someone else's heartbeat. Someone else's ending. A nurse touched my arm and said something I didn't catch. All sound had flattened. I was focused on the reflection. In the glass, my face split. Down the middle by fluorescent. Light, calm, presentable, all ready. Learning how to survive this moment. My phone buzzed again. A text this time. They're saying it's your fault. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Fault is a word people use when they need a villain quickly. I looked back at the bed. The stillness. The weight of unfinished sentences. And I understood with surgical clarity that grief was not what was waiting for me outside that room. Judgment was. And she was already practicing the story. The funeral was efficient. So was the blame. She stood close enough to touch but never did. Every time someone approached, she leaned into the narrative, small sighs, rehearsed pauses. If only he'd been there. If only he'd answered. I learned how quickly a life can be edited. My best friend stood beside her. Too close. A hand at her back. Familiar, intimate, wrong. I told myself it was grief rearranging my vision. That betrayal only looks obvious in hindsight. That I was imagining. The way his eyes tracked her. Movements before they tracked mine. She didn't cry when she looked at me. She cried when others watched. At night, she slept facing away. Phone locked. Laughter muted in the bathroom. I didn't ask questions yet. Questions give liars time to prepare. Then came the meeting. Boardroom. Glass table. My name on the agenda like a liability. They spoke about continuity and risk and public confidence. My company. My designs. My decade of sleepless nights reduced to a vote I wasn't allowed to attend. She signed first. My best friend second. I watched from the hallway camera feed I still had access to. Old permissions die slowly. By the time they were done, I was officially the reason for a death, a distraction and an inconvenience. I was calm. That scared them later. I didn't confront. I audited. Phone records, calendar overlaps, late-night transfers masked as consulting fees. I pulled server logs with the patience of a surgeon, cross-referenced timestamps with location pings. Patterns don't lie. People do. The affair had started before the hospital. Before the blame. Before the rehearsed grief. I replayed moments like security footage in my head. The way she stopped saying my name. The way he stopped meeting my eyes. How they both spoke to me more slowly, like I was already gone. I let them believe the vote broke me. I cleaned my desk. Returned my badge. Thanked them for the opportunity to be erased. At home, I found the will drafts she never thought to delete. Early versions. Edits tracked. Language softened where it needed to be sharp. Names shifted. She had planned for my absence. I planned for precision. There was one document they never opened. Buried deep, a clause. I'd insisted on years ago when the company was just a whiteboard and a promise. A contingency no one argued against because it sounded boring. In the event of reputational removal under disputed liability, they thought they'd won because I didn't fight. They didn't realize I was counting. The lab results arrived in a plain envelope. I didn't open them immediately. Truth is more useful when it's delayed. That night I asked her one question, soft, almost kind. Did you ever stop? Her eyes flickered. Not confusion, calculation. No, that was enough. I slid the envelope across the table. DNA confirmation, financial trails, messages printed in black and white, love stripped of its poetry. She collapsed into noise. Denials tripping over apologies. She blamed grief, pressure, me. I watched her the way you watch a building after you've pulled the supports. My best friend didn't speak when I called him in. He stared at the documents like they might explode. I told them I already knew, that I'd known before the vote. That's when fear replaced guilt. The clause activated quietly. No lawsuits, no press, just a sequence of notifications, assets frozen, voting rights reversed, IP ownership reverting to original architect, me. The reputation clause triggered an independent review. External, unbiased, brutal. Their millions were leverage. And leverage evaporates when ownership changes hands. I didn't raise my voice. I thanked them for proving my case without ever knowing they were on trial. She begged. He raged. Neither mattered. I walked out while their world recalibrated around them. I don't miss them. I miss who I thought they were. There's a difference. The death they blame me for still hurts, but it no longer owns me. Grief doesn't get to be weaponized twice. I rebuilt quietly, under my name, on my terms. Sometimes power isn't taking everything back. Sometimes it's leaving them with the truth and nothing else. I didn't forgive, I finalized, and walked away whole.